Hey guys, so ever since I did my Crayola challenge video, I've been getting a lot of requests to do a tutorial on chibis. And there are so many different chibi styles out there. I think I'm just going to stick to this style here, so don't feel like the things I say are rules that you have to do. It's just if you want to replicate this specific style. So I'm going to start off by showing you how to draw the basic body shape. And if you can draw this, you can add details to make it any character basically. And then in a future video, I think I'll go into expressions, but I won't touch on that in this video. So I'm just going to zoom in a little bit and talk about this. So the way I like to draw my chibis is I make them just a little bit over 2 heads tall, and I like to keep the body parts really narrow. So some of the main things I like to do small eyes instead of large eyes, and I keep them round instead of oval shaped. I like to leave out the nose, add little eyebrows, and then a very simple mouth. And then I keep the ears quite low because the face is very low on the head. And then for the body, think of the main torso area as kind of shaped like a letter A. And then for the arms and legs, they are thicker at the base, and then they narrow a lot at the wrist and ankles. And then I give really tiny hands and really tiny feet with little pointy fingers and pointy toes. So that's basically the shape of the character. So I'll do a little demo on how I actually draw it. So I'm just going to start off with a circle for the head. And then the first line I draw after that is this little line here, the little indent where the eyes and the cheeks meet. And then I just curl that line underneath, and the chin is just a very simple curved line. And I just extend it all the way around to show the full shape of the head. Then I'm going to draw a curved line to show the contour. Think of this as a 3D sphere. And this line is going to be down the center of the face. And that's going to help me place the eyes and stuff. And then to also help me place the eyes, right where this curved line is, I'm going to draw a line across. And that'll be the center line for my eyes. And then if you follow this line down, you'll know about where to put the neck. It's kind of tricky sometimes to place the neck without it looking like it's kind of off balance, because there's a lot to the back of the head, and so I usually end up trimming this down. I already kind of did that, but that's just how I keep it from looking too lopsided. And then I'm going to draw a center line down the body as well. And I'm curving this line because the way I draw them just kind of, the bellies kind of bulge out, so I'm just trying to follow that contour. And I'm going to bring the line all the way down to where I want the feet to be. I think I want the feet about here. That looks about right. And then I will draw a line across for where the shoulders would be. And then we're going to do that A shape that I talked about right here. So curve this line down for kind of a little pudgy belly. Curve it down on the other side as well. And then I'll draw the line across. And this is not the waist, and it's kind of more the hips, but it's a little bit low because, as you can see, I usually bring the crotch line, I guess you would say, a little bit above that. But I just draw it like this way initially just to help me get the legs. I don't know why, I just do it like that. So then I'm going to curve these lines down for the legs. I don't want to make them too curled though, because then the character will look bow-legged. And then I draw the inner lines. This guy's actually got a wider body than the last one I drew, making his legs look really far apart. I'll try to trim that down a bit. And I'm going to draw on that little crotch line just right above the line I already did. And the feet are just simple little triangular shapes. And then for the arms, the trick for me to getting the arms to look right is to make sure to give some curvature to the shoulder, because if you draw it just straight down like this, it just looks a little bit weird. I'm also going to clean this up before I do the arms. And I will be cleaning up this drawing in the end and adding details just to give a nice finished picture, but I won't be doing a tutorial on the details because that obviously depends on what character it is. So now, arms. Just like the legs, they start wide and taper off. Give a bit of curve to that shoulder. And then the arms, I kind of have them come down about to that line that I drew earlier at the bottom of this A shape. Try to keep my lines clean when I do tutorials because I have messy sketches when I'm making drawings, and then when I do tutorial I try to keep it clean because I can always clean it up later, but then it's harder to follow. Okay, that's about far enough. And then I'll draw the hands. I basically draw this thumb. It depends what pose the hand is in, but if I'm just doing a neutral pose, I draw the thumb and then I curl this line in, draw one finger, draw the second one, and then the third one is mostly blocked off so you can't see it much. And I'll sort of break it down a little easier down here. So the hand is basically a circle. I usually don't draw the circle because I'm drawing the chibi so tiny that you don't even need that. And then off the side, the fingers are basically just triangles with rounded edges. So that'd be a thumb. Here's a little index finger, a middle finger, and then pinky. And I only do 3 fingers because chibis are simplified characters, so I simplify it to 3 fingers. Otherwise it just gets to be a little bit messy, but feel free to do whatever you want. But that's basically what it is, just drawn really, really tiny. I personally don't like it when chibis have either mittens for hands or just sort of a U shape like that. It just, I don't know. It's a stylistic preference. I mean, if you like that, go ahead, do that. I just don't like it. So yeah, there's basically the hands. Oh, I should have drew it sticking out like that one because that's cute. Anyways, let's stay on topic. So now for the placement of the facial features. Like I said, I like to do round eyes. So I usually draw this eye first, just because it's easy to place right in the center of those lines. And then for the other eye, I place it out here, and it's roughly in the center between these points, but closer to the middle. Depends on the exact angle of the face, but this looks okay. And then just a little curved line on the top. There's a lot of styles you can do for eyes and the lash line as well. So that's really up to you, and you can leave it a little shape like this, or you can add a little hook underneath. I think I'm just gonna leave it like this for now. And I think I'll refine the details when I'm adding other details to this later. And now's when I like to erase the center line because it's not really the center line anymore. I know that does not make sense, but it just looks wrong and it confuses me when I'm drawing the mouth. So I basically just use that for the eyeball placement and then I erase it. And I'm just going to do a very simple little smile. And like I said before, I don't do a nose. And then I'm just going to make sure this is all right and this is the shape that I want. I usually end up trimming down this corner a lot. And then little eyebrows, I think, is the last thing. Just very simple, very tiny. And that's basically how I draw a chibi character. Oh, I didn't do the ears. The ears are just little C shapes, and I do it around the eye, just a little bit below the eye, kind of like a jet. So yeah, that is the basic body shape, and I think I'll just add some detail now to turn it into a character. And I'll just speed through this part, and yeah. So the rest of the video is just me finishing this drawing, so if you don't want to hang around for that, you can just skip to the end to see the finished picture. So the first thing I did was I took my kneaded eraser and lightened the pencil lines so that I could clean up the lines a lot easier. But then after a while I just realized I didn't like the look of the pencil lines and I wanted to ink it because I liked the look of inked pictures, so that was kind of all for nothing, but whatever. And I don't know if you noticed, but I kind of gave her little boobs, and then I realized it just looked weird with that style, so I just took them off. I think I did give Zelda some boobs in my Zelda picture, but I just took it off for this video because I just didn't want it. And then I also made her waistline a little bit higher because once I drew her skirt, her legs just looked really short, so I decided to make it a bit higher. I do like it lower on male characters, but for this one I just had to make it a bit higher. And then for the hair, I was just kind of making things up as I went along. Well, I did that for the shirt and the skirt too, but I had this image in my mind of a headband and short black hair, so that's what I started doing. And I realized I didn't like the headband, so later on you'll see me just color it all in black. And I just didn't like the look of the pencil lines to make the hair black, and that was one of the main reasons why I decided to go ahead and ink it. I also just hate how my light is so bright that it makes graphite really, really reflective, and it just makes my drawing videos look stupid. And so I really liked the idea of inking it to make it look better in that sense as well. For the eyes, I just basically drew large black pupils, and then for the iris, I just shaded from top to bottom light to dark, or from the top to the bottom dark to light. And then I added little eyelashes, and then I just kind of did a bit of shading on the cheeks and little tiny eyebrows. And then I think this is the point, yeah, this is where I wanted to start inking it, and I wasn't filming it initially, and then I was like, oh, maybe I should probably be filming this. And basically just coloring in the hair, getting rid of that headband that I didn't like, and I actually used my brush multiliner to color in the hair. And at first it wasn't working because it's dry, because I haven't used it in a long time, but once the ink was flowing it was fine. What I didn't like was that the ink was really, really reflective, but it was okay in the end. I like how it was really, really black. It was just very shiny looking. What I also liked about coloring it all in is I got rid of just weird lines where her headband connects to her bangs and stuff. And I really like darkening the pupils a lot, so that's another reason why I liked inking it. And yeah, I don't think there's a whole lot left to say on this guy. I'm just finishing filling in the hair, and that is basically it for that. I'm still here. I just don't know what to say. We're almost at the end anyways, so it'd be pointless for me to play music or something. Just making some finishing touches. And voila, there is the Chibi character. And then I brought up the little reference picture again for you guys. And thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.